Morning YouTube, William here. Thought I would do a video and show you where I am working, give you a little bit better idea what's going on. This is the rear beater shaft. I removed the bearing that I had previously installed in the bearing housing to make sure that it slides all the way down, and it does. You don't want to be sliding this in and then about here it stops and you have to pound it on the rest of the way, gnarl up your threads, everything else like that. As I said, we're now going to use anti-seize lubricant all the way down this shaft. That way if we ever have to get back in here, for some reason the rear beater comes apart, we can pull all of these components, no problem. I've had it in the past, it just always works the best. Live and die by anti-seize. Okay, when we removed the bearing, one of these was left on the shaft. These are 1/32 of an inch spacers. What this does, it rides on the shaft against the cast iron piece that is on the rear beater, and then it in turn rides against the inner race of the bearing, and then the cast iron piece on the rear beater goes inside of here and makes a seal. And it fell down, that's why this is kind of shiny and sharp. Once the bearing went out, it fell down like a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch possibly, but we caught it in time where it did not machine this entire surface off sharp as a razor. Here you can see heat discoloration right here at the tip of my thumb. So it is imperative on both sides of the rear beater, there is a 1/32 of an inch shim, and there's two of them. That should come up to about a 1/16 or closer to an 1/8. So now we're going to pull these shims off. We're going to shine this like crazy. We're going to anti-seize the whole shaft and start sliding components back on. And then we're going to combine some wheat here in about a week. Okay, now I'm going to start sliding on all the ancillary components. We have our 1/32 of an inch spacers installed. Now I'm going to slide the bearing on. It's always imperative on your repair to save every component until the job is completely done and the tools are put away. The dealership did not send me a lock collar. This one has not been destroyed, so we're just going to put it back on. I shined it up a little bit, and we're going to slide all that on. Another good reason for anti-seize, I had my assistant rotate this shaft from the other side, and the shaft moves first before the cast iron casting moves. So that is a good indication that the key stock on this is getting kind of wore. So we very well could be in here in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, who knows. It could last 20 years or it could last 5 minutes. That's the joy of running an old Massey. Okay. All right, I have tightened all of the bolts in a cross pattern, kind of like you do a tire. Our lock collar is still loose. I wanted to make sure all of these were tight up against the frame of the combine before I tightened the bearing, because you don't want to be pulling with like stresses on the inner workings of the bearing. So now we're going to tighten up our lock collar, and then we can start sliding on the sprocket. Everything on the sprocket will be cleaned with a wire wheel on a bench grinder and anti-seized, because it is starting to get a little bit of slant on the teeth. Okay, we've cleaned all of our threads up on the wire wheel. We ran a tap down the threads here. With anti-seize, you come out looking like the Tin Man as soon as you open the bottle. What I'm going to do now is back out this set screw, and I'm going to line it up, I don't know how well you can see that, with that mark, so it'll be perfectly in line with where it was when we removed it. Now we're going to get that step done, and that should finish off this shaft, and then we are going to put the table elevator drive chain back on with the master link that came off of it, And then we'll be ready to tighten up these belts. I did not need to loosen these. I thought I needed to. Exercise in futility. So we will get that done, get the tire on, and then we can drop the head. Okay, I'm using my AC Delco. You won't be able to see it very well under here. Bore light. Now, if it'll focus, you can see that I am right where the set screw mark was previously. That's anti-seize sloshed into that hole. And here is where we're working without the flash on, because when the flash is on you can't see the AC Delco screen. This is a handy tool to have. You don't have to have an AC Delco. It just had the longest cord. I have used my brother's Ryobi and it works just as well. He bought it remanned off of Amazon for cheaper. Your phone can also work very well. That's what I'm using right now. Okay, we have our table elevator drive chain reinstalled. We have our tire reinstalled. Going to use our pneumatic jack. We have to close up our air screen here. Use our pneumatic jack, pull the stump and the blocks out, and then we are ready to fire the combine up. We're going to drop this head. We broke a sickle the last field we were on, so we dropped the other head and grabbed the clover head, which is in another video, and so we have to pick up the head that goes to this combine and change the sickle and sickle guard, I believe, and then we will be ready to go mount the air conditioner. That will be a separate video. Make sure you come back for more.